Hello and a very warm welcome to today's class. I'm Asmita, your IELTS mentor at Vedantu, and are you ready? Are you ready to solve a full-length listening test live? Even if you're not, that's what we're doing, so tough luck. Get ready quickly. Be in an environment where you will not get distracted. Tell everybody at home to leave you alone for the next 1 hour because you are not to be disturbed. This entire listening test is going to happen in one go. I am invigilating and not helping you during the test. But obviously, once the test is over, I'm going to give you the correct answers and explain anything that you did not understand. So here we are. I am going to be solving the test with you. So I have let me grab my actual pen, not the digital board pen. So I have a notebook and an actual pen ready over here so that I can write my answers down as well. And once we have our answers, we can check the band that we were able to get. 39 to 40 means you get a band 9. So if you wish to get a band 9, you are allowed but one mistake. So make sure you are aiming for 0, that is no mistakes, and then maybe you can get a band 9. Okay? Yasir, yes, it is 18,500. So before we get started, good afternoon, good afternoon. Those of you who are new here and have not filled out this form, make sure you do that because here you're getting free student admissions counseling, and let me tell you, you need it. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just going to tell you, you need it. So make sure you are making full use of this because admissions counseling otherwise tends to be very expensive. Okay? All right. So I'm going to cheat a bit by letting you see the first set of questions. Otherwise, this only starts when the recording starts. I'm also going to, yes, the counseling is free, Yasir. Harsh, I cannot reveal everything to you the first time you meet me. So let's see if you come back to a session later on, then maybe I will tell you. This is the first time I'm seeing you, so I am not going to tell you. All right, pulling out the recording on my phone. We'll just quickly take the mic off.
Test 4. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a woman telephoning for information about a festival. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Good morning, Stretton Festival box office. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. My family and I are on holiday in the area and we've seen some posters about the festival this week. Could you tell me about some of the events, please?
Of course.
First of all, are there still tickets available for the jazz band on Saturday?
There are, but only £15. The £12 seats have all been sold.
OK, and the venue is the school, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. The secondary school. Make sure you don't go to the primary school by mistake. And there's an additional performer who isn't mentioned on the posters. Carolyn Hart is going to play with the band.
Oh, I think I've heard her on the radio. Doesn't she play the oboe or flutes or something?
Yes, the flute. She usually plays with symphony orchestras, and apparently this is her first time with a jazz band.
Well, I'd certainly like to hear her. Then the next thing I want to ask about is the duck races. I saw a poster beside a river. What are they exactly?
Well, you buy a yellow plastic duck, or as many as you like. They're £1 each. And you write your name on each one. There'll be several races, depending on the number of ducks taking part. And John Stevens, a champion swimmer who lives locally, is going to start the races. All the ducks will be launched into the river at the back of the cinema. Then they'll float along the river for 500 metres, as far as the railway bridge.
And are there any prizes?
Yes. The first duck in each race to arrive at the finishing line wins its owner free tickets for the concert on the last night of the festival.
You said you can buy a duck. I'm sure my children will both want one.
They're on sale at a stall in the market. You can't miss it. It's got an enormous sign showing a couple of ducks.
OK, I'll go there this afternoon. I remember walking past there yesterday. Now, could you tell me something about the flower show, please?
Well, admission is free, and the show is being held in Bythwaite Hall.
Sorry, how do you spell that?
Bythwaite. Bythwaite.
Is it easy to find? I'm not very familiar with the town yet.
Oh, you won't have any problem. It's right in the centre of Stretton. It's the only old building in the town, so it's easy to recognise.
I know it. I presume it's open all day.
Yes, but if you'd like to see the prizes being awarded for the best flowers, you'll need to be there at 5 o'clock. The prizes are being given by a famous actor, Kevin Shapless. He lives nearby and gets involved in a lot of community events.
Gosh, I've seen him on TV. I'll definitely go to the prize giving.
Right.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10.
You have to write the letter here. So these are the questions and you have to pick the one that matches. It's sort of like match the following.
And answer questions 8 to 10.
I've seen a list of plays that are being performed this week, and I'd like to know which are suitable for my children and which ones my husband and I might go to.
How old are your children?
5 and 7. What about The Mystery of Muldoon?
That's aimed at 5 to 10-year-olds.
So if I take my children, I can expect them to enjoy it more than I do?
I think so. If you'd like something for yourself and your husband and leave your children with a babysitter, you might like to see Fire and Flood. It's about events that really happened in Stretton 200 years ago, and children might find it rather frightening.
Oh, thanks for the warning. And finally, what about Silly Sailor?
That's a comedy, and it's for young and old. In fact, it won an award in the Stretton Drama Festival a couple of months ago.
OK. Well, goodbye, and thanks for all the information. I'm looking forward to the festival.
Goodbye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
While that half minute passes by, I think the 8 to 10 was supremely easy. And there was one question that I got confused in. because I got distracted, which was question number 5 for the first one. So I don't know if the rest of you were able to catch that, because I definitely got confused.
Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a guide at an art museum talking to a group of visitors. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16.
I'm going to pause for a second and write down the different things here, because you might get confused. Let's see if I can cut and paste this. One sec. No! Wait. Where's my hand? Okay. No. All right. Or what we can do is, okay, I'll write down this on the previous slide, okay? So what do we have? Just give me 1 second. Okay, so I hope you can read what I have written, okay? And basically what you have to do is, I'll move away from the screen. I hope you can see this. What you have to do is, you have to choose. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7 options over here. So clearly one of them will not be used, because you have 6 questions here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So you have to write the correct corresponding letter next to the question. These are the questions. They were on a different screen and you would have had issues matching them. That's why I wrote them down over here. All right? Is that clear? You know what you have to do? So I will just read them out once, so there's no confusion. 20th and 21st century paintings, 19th century paintings, sculptures, around the world exhibition, coins and porcelain and glass. Okay? I'm going to start the recording now.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Good morning and welcome to the museum. One with a remarkable range of exhibits which I'm sure you'll enjoy. My name's Greg and I'll tell you about the various collections as we go around. But before we go, let me just give you a taste of what we have here. Well, for one thing, we have a fine collection of 20th and 21st century paintings, many by very well-known artists. I'm sure you'll recognize several of the paintings. This is the gallery that attracts the largest number of visitors, so it's best to go in early in the day before the crowds arrive. Then there are the 19th century paintings. The museum was opened in the middle of that century, and several of the artists each donated one work to get the museum started, as it were. So they're of special interest to us. We feel closer to them than to other works. The sculpture gallery has a number of fine exhibits, but I'm afraid it's currently closed for refurbishment. You'll need to come back next year to see it properly, but a number of the sculptures have been moved to other parts of the museum. Around the World is a temporary exhibition. You've probably seen something about it on TV or in the newspapers. It's created a great deal of interest because it presents objects from every continent and many countries and provides information about their social context, why they were made, who for, and so on. Then there's the collection of coins. This is what you might call a focused specialist collection because all the coins come from this country and were produced between 2,000 and 1,000 years ago. And many of them were discovered by ordinary people digging their gardens and donated to the museum. All our porcelain and glass was left to the museum by its founder when he died in 1878. And in the terms of his will, we're not allowed to add anything to that collection. He believed it was perfect in itself, and we don't see any reason to disagree.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20.
If you have trouble seeing anything that's written here, I'm just going to rewrite it for you. 17 is restaurant, 18 is cafe, 19 is baby changing facilities, and 20 is cloakroom. All right, you have to label the plan. So basically you have to write the correct letter. These are the names of the different places shown on the map. So basically you have to write the corresponding letter. Where are these places in the map, right? Okay.
Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Okay, that was something about the collections, and now here's some more practical information, in case you need it. Most of the museum facilities are downstairs in the basement, so you go down the stairs here. When you reach the bottom of the stairs, you'll find yourself in a sitting area with comfortable chairs and sofas where you can have a rest before continuing your exploration of the museum. We have a very good restaurant which serves excellent food all day in a relaxing atmosphere. To reach it, when you get to the bottom of the stairs, go straight ahead to the far side of the sitting area, then turn right into the corridor. You'll see the door of the restaurant facing you. If you just want a snack or if you'd like to eat somewhere with facilities for children, we also have a cafe. When you reach the bottom of the stairs, you'll need to go straight ahead, turn right into the corridor, and the cafe is immediately on the right. And talking about children, there are baby changing facilities downstairs. Cross the sitting area, continue straight ahead along the corridor on the left, and you and your baby will find the facilities on the left-hand side. The cloakroom, where you should leave coats, umbrellas, and any large bags, is on the left-hand side of the sitting area. It's through the last door before you come to the corridor. There are toilets on every floor, but in the basement, they're the first rooms on the left when you get down there. Okay, now if you've got anything to leave in the cloakroom, please do that now, and then we'll start our tour.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, I don't know. Was it just me who found that quite confusing, but somehow managed? I hope you were able to manage as well. The way he said corridor threw me off. It's like, walk straight down the corridor. I was like, what's a corridor? And then I realized, okay, he means corridors.
Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear a student called Joanna talking to her new supervisor about some research she has done on psychology and music. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26.
Okay, I'm going to move a little quicker because you have to look at 21 to 26. So here's 21 and 22, 23 and 24, 25 and 26. Basically, you have to pick two things each that Joanna talks about.
Carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Joanna. Good to meet you. Now, before we discuss your new research project, I'd like to hear something about the psychology study you did last year for your master's degree. So, how did you choose your subjects for that?
Well, I had 6 subjects, all professional musicians and all female. 3 were violinists, and there was also a cello player and a pianist and a flute player. They were all very highly regarded in the music world, and they'd done quite extensive tours in different continents, and quite a few had won prizes and competitions as well.
And they were quite young, weren't they?
Yes, between 25 and 29. The mean was 27.8. I wasn't specifically looking for artists who'd produced recordings, but this is something that's just taken for granted these days, and they all had.
Right. Now, you collected your data through telephone interviews, didn't you?
Yes. I realised if I was going to interview leading musicians, it'd only be possible over the phone because they're so busy. I recorded them using a telephone recording adapter. I'd been worried about the quality, but it worked out all right. I managed at least a 30-minute interview with each subject, sometimes longer.
Did doing it on the phone make it more stressful?
I thought it might. It was all quite informal though, and in fact they seemed very keen to talk. And I don't think using the phone meant I got less rich data. Rather the opposite, in fact.
Interesting. And you were looking at how performers dress for concert performances?
That's right. My research investigated the way players see their role as a musician and how this is linked to the type of clothing they decide to wear. But that focus didn't emerge immediately. When I started, I was more interested in trying to investigate the impact of what was worn on those listening, and also whether someone like a violinist might adopt a different style of clothing from, say, someone playing the flute or the trumpet.
It's interesting that the choice of dress is up to the individual, isn't it?
Yes, you'd expect there to be rules about it in orchestras, but that's quite rare.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
You only had women performers in your study. Was that because male musicians are less worried about fashion?
I think a lot of the men are very much influenced by fashion, but in social terms, the choices they have are more limited. They'd really upset audiences if they strayed away from quite narrow boundaries.
Now, popular music has quite different expectations. Did you read Mike Frost's article about the dress of women performers in popular music?
No.
Well, he points out that a lot of female singers and musicians in popular music tend to dress down in performances and wear less feminine clothes, like jeans instead of skirts. And he suggests this is because otherwise they'd just be discounted as trivial.
But you could argue they're just wearing what's practical. I mean, a pop music concert is usually a pretty energetic affair.
Yes, he doesn't make that point, but I think you're probably right. I was interested by the effect of the audience at a musical performance when it came to the choice of dress.
The subjects I interviewed felt this was really important. It's all to do with what we understand by performance as a public event. They believed the audience had certain expectations, and it was up to them as performers to fulfill these expectations, to show a kind of esteem.
They weren't afraid of looking as if they'd made an effort to look good.
I think in the past, the audience would have had those expectations of one another too, but that's not really the case now. Not in the UK, anyway.
No.
And I also got interested in what sports scientists are doing too, with regard to clothing.
Musicians are quite vulnerable physically, aren't they? Because the movements they carry out are very intensive and repetitive, so I'd imagine some features of sports clothing could safeguard the players from the potentially dangerous effects of this sort of thing.
Yes, but musicians don't really consider it. They avoid clothing that obviously restricts their movements, but that's as far as they go.
Anyway, coming back to your own research, do you have any idea where you're going from here?
I was thinking of doing a study using an audience, including...
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
All right, I felt like that was a bit on the trickier side. Sorry, my bad. Sorry if that affected your ears. That was a bit on the trickier side. According to me, this was harder than most of the listening practice tests that we have done. Or maybe I'm just being a scatterbrain today, I'm not sure. But I am second guessing all of my answers at this point. So maybe I'm just distracted, but I feel like this is a bit more difficult than the ones we've done.
Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture about a way of reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Same question type, just remember this, okay? One word only.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
As we saw in the last lecture, a major cause of climate change is the rapid rise in the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere over the last century. If we could reduce the amount of CO2, perhaps the rate of climate change could also be slowed down. One potential method involves enhancing the role of the soil that plants grow in with regard to absorbing CO2. Ratan Lal, a soil scientist from Ohio State University in the USA, claims that the world's agricultural soils could potentially absorb 13% of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the equivalent of the amount released in the last 30 years, and research is going on into how this might be achieved. Lal first came to the idea that soil might be valuable in this way not through an interest in climate change, but rather out of concern for the land itself and the people dependent on it. Carbon-rich soil is dark, crumbly and fertile and retains some water. But erosion can occur if soil is dry, which is a likely effect if it contains inadequate amounts of carbon. Erosion is of course bad for people trying to grow crops or breed animals on that terrain. In the 1970s and 80s, Lau was studying soils in Africa so devoid of organic matter that the ground had become extremely hard, like cement. There he met a pioneer in the study of global warming, who suggested that carbon from the soil had moved into the atmosphere. This is now looking increasingly likely. Let me explain. For millions of years, carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere have been regulated, in part, by a natural partnership between plants and microbes, tiny organisms in the soil. Plants absorb CO2 from the air and transform it into sugars and other carbon-based substances. While a proportion of these carbon products remain in the plant, some transfer from the roots to fungi and soil microbes, which store the carbon in the soil. The invention of agriculture some 10,000 years ago disrupted these ancient soil-building processes and led to the loss of carbon from the soil. When humans started draining the natural topsoil and ploughing it up for planting, they exposed the buried carbon to oxygen. This created carbon dioxide and released it into the air. And in some places, grazing by domesticated animals has removed all vegetation, releasing carbon into the air. Tons of carbon have been stripped from the world's soils, where it's needed, and pumped into the atmosphere. So, what can be done? Researchers are now coming up with evidence that even modest changes to farming can significantly help to reduce the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. Some growers have already started using an approach known as regenerative agriculture. This aims to boost the fertility of soil and keep it moist through established practices. These include keeping fields planted all year round and increasing the variety of plants being grown. Strategies like these can significantly increase the amount of carbon stored in the soil, so agricultural researchers are now building a case for their use in combating climate change. One American investigation into the potential for storing CO2 on agricultural lands is taking place in California. Soil scientist Wendy Silver of the University of California, Berkeley, is conducting a first-of-its-kind study on a large cattle farm in the state. She and her students are testing the effects on carbon storage of the compost that is created from waste, both agricultural, including manure and corn stalks, and waste produced in gardens, such as leaves, branches, and lawn trimmings. In Australia, soil ecologist Christine Jones is testing another promising soil enrichment strategy. Jones and 12 farmers are working to build up soil carbon by cultivating grasses that stay green all year round. Like composting, the approach has already been proved experimentally. Jones now hopes to show that it can be applied on working farms and that the resulting carbon capture can be accurately measured. It's hoped in the future that projects such as these will demonstrate the role that farmers and other land managers can play in reducing the harmful effects of greenhouse gases. For example, in countries like the United States, where most farming operations use large applications of fertilizer, changing such long-standing habits will require a change of system. Ratan Lal argues that farmers should receive payment, not just for the corn or beef they produce, but also for the carbon they can store in their soil. Another study being carried out. That is the end of section 4.
All right.
Now have half a minute.
You all have half a minute to give me all your answers from 1 to 40 in the chat so that we can see how you all scored. Meanwhile, I'll pull out the answer key. Okay, I am done checking my answers. I got one wrong, and that was in the map labeling thing that I got a question wrong. I got 19 wrong. I wrote E. The answer was supposed to be C. Prashant will discuss the MCQ when it comes, okay? So I will tell you the answers from 21 to 30, what they need to be. Secondary, flute, cinema, concert, market, Bythwaite with the correct spelling, actor. Then we have F, H, C, B. Oh, sorry, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, after actor, A, B, C, E, D, G, B, C, A, F, H, C, and B. Then we have B, D, B, A, B, E, C, A, C. From 21 to 26, the order can be flipped also, that's fine. Then we have dry, hard, sugars, roots, moist, variety, cattle, gardens, grasses, and payment. Okay, so let's discuss these from the top. Okay, starting out here. Here the secondary school was quite easy, and here they said, oh, she plays the oboe or flute or something. That's what she said. And the guy confirmed that yes, she plays the flute. So secondary and flute. Okay. Then we had, okay, so here you all got a little tricked. It said it starts at the river behind the cinema. Clearly the recording said it starts at the river behind the cinema. So here what is it asking us? Behind the what? Starts at the river. Fine. But the river is where? Behind the cinema. So what is your landmark? Your landmark is cinema. So here cinema was the correct answer. Tickets for concert. Ducks can be bought in. Okay, so here I got a bit confused, right? I also got a bit confused when I said that I couldn't really tell what the answer is. He said two things, sale and he said market. If we use the word sale, it should be on sale. Tickets can be bought on sale. Here we have in. Technically, it should be in the market. But what did I tell you? When we write notes, I told you this last time if you remember. When we write notes, we can omit articles here and there because we're trying to write it in the fastest way and the shortest way possible, right? So even though it should have been in the market, it's okay to omit the, and here the correct answer was market, okay? Next, the byte weight, the spelling was, he spelled it out for us. So the spelling was supposed to be this. Because it was a confusing spelling, they spelled it out for us. Whenever in a listening test, the word is being spelled out loud, you need to make sure that you get the spelling right. Prize is presented at 5 p.m. by a well-known actor. For those of you who wrote the name of the actor is not one word. If the name of the actor is not one word, how can you write it here? So you have to write actor. Okay? So these were the answers. Any doubts, concerns here? This was so easy. This was for children. This was for adults. This was for all age groups. No explanation required. Okay. Then we had this. Yes. So 11 was E. Includes the most popular exhibits, 20th and 21st century. 12th was includes some items given by the artist. 13 was has to have some of its contents relocated because it has been closed down, but some of the sculptures have been placed somewhere else. That's what the audio said. 14, the Around the World exhibition, they said you might have read about this or seen this on TV, so this was publicized. 15, the coins were mostly found by people while digging their backyards and gardens and stuff. So all of this was mostly given by people, and the porcelain and glass was left by the museum owner. So the museum owner is one person. Before he died, he left all the porcelain and glass exhibits, and his will said that nothing can be added here. Alright, so EDGBCA. That was the sequence here. Moving on. Here is where I got, which one wrong? I got 19 wrong, baby changing facilities. Okay, so from what I remember, I got very caught up with the corridor pronunciation and I got distracted. That's why I lost track over here. Rest was fine. He said you go down the stairs. Where are you going down the stairs? Once you go down the stairs, there's a sitting area. He said you go straight and then you will see a corridor. I don't know what he said. Corridor. You'll see a corridor. You walk through the corridor, right? And he said that the gate that you see right in front of you, that is the gate for the restaurant. So which gate do you see right in front of you here? No left, no right. That is F. So restaurant was F. And then he said if you don't wish to eat at the restaurant, then there is a casual cafe that you can pop into for like a quick snack or something. And then again he said go down the stairs if you go towards the corridor. And the corridor, the first right is your cafe. Then I lost track. I don't know what happened. The answer was supposed to be C. I wrote E for some reason. Yeah, so I wrote E for some reason. The answer was C. So he probably said you have to go straight and then the last left. Or this corridor. He probably meant this corridor. I misunderstood it for this corridor. So I took a left in this corridor and wrote E. You were supposed to go to this corridor and take a left. So the answer for this is C. Did you all get C right? Am I the only one who got it wrong? Were you all able to get it right? Yeah, Tanmay got it right. Okay, so I just got distracted at that point and all I heard was left from the corridor. Rest of the instructions I didn't listen to. Left from the corridor means I took a left from this corridor, was supposed to take a left from this corridor, okay? And then these directions were given quite clearly for the cloakroom, that you have to go straight and then right before the corridor starts. The left you have to take right before the corridor starts. So the corridor starts here. The left right before it is B. So the answer here was B. Okay. Alright, next two characteristics that were shared. Here we go. So here by the subjects of Joanna's psychology study. So here they were all what? Musicians, and they all had gone on a lot of tours. So these were the two things that all the participants had in common, right? That they were all musicians and they all had toured internationally, okay? Said something about age where they said the mean or the median age was 27.5, but the range was 20 something to 29. So that's why this is wrong, okay? Here it said a lot of them won prizes, did not say all of them won prizes. That's why two things they all had in common, they all made music and they all toured internationally. Next two we had 2 points. Why was she doing it over telephone? So that she wanted to interview very popular musicians, and because they're all very busy, she could only catch hold of them through her phone. So that's why it allowed involvement of top performers, and also it meant at the end they said something about, does that mean that rich data couldn't be collected? And she said no, in fact it was quite the opposite, because they were also informal on the phone. Rich data could be collected. So A and B become the right answers here. And then here, which two topics did Joanna originally intend to investigate in her research? Pay attention to the word originally. Originally. Right, so originally she wanted to know how audience reacts to the dress, how the performers are dressed. And the second was links between what musical instrument a person is playing and the kind of clothes they are wearing. Right, so B and E were our correct answers here. Okay. Now from 27 to 30, multiple choice questions. What was your confusion with respect to multiple choice? Prashant, see, the easiest way is to do process of elimination. I've told you this multiple times. Where instead of finding the right answer, you need to find a reason for each option to be wrong. So your thought process should be, why is A wrong? Why is B wrong? Why is C wrong? Was something specifically said that makes A incorrect, that makes B incorrect, that makes C incorrect? And the one for which you cannot find a single reason, that becomes your correct answer. Here Joanna concentrated on women performers because, did they ever say women are more influenced by fashion? Was this mentioned? Women's dress code, dresses has led to more controversy. Was this mentioned? Not mentioned. Not mentioned. So we can eliminate these. Here, she specifically said men had limited options, which means men had more strict dress codes, which automatically means women's code of dress is less strict than men's, which is why C was the correct answer. Then we had 28. Here A was the correct answer. They dressed a bit more, they didn't go all out while dressing because they wanted everybody to take them seriously. Right, next 29, again A was the answer. The musician's choice of clothing is linked to respect for the audience. The musician should dress for the audience. The audience has some expectations to show respect to the audience. And 30 was C. The way clothing may protect against physical injury, because the male voice clearly said musicians also do a lot of things that can be physically straining. So they should look at clothing that can prevent physical injury. Alright, so these were the answers here. Finally, one word only. How nicely this name was pronounced. Ratan Lal was Ratan Lal. So Ratan Lal, what did he say? Erosion is more likely in soil that is dry. Lal found soil in Africa that was very hard. Then we moved on to the next. Plants turn CO2 from the air into carbon-based substances such as sugars. Some CO2 moves from the roots of plants to microbes in soil. Next, year-round planting you establish practices to make sure soil remains fertile and moist through year-round planting and increasing the variety of plants. The California study was taking place on a cattle farm. The way they pronounced this was a bit tricky. Cattle. She said it very quickly. Or cattle farms, cattle farms, cattle farms. So you might not have caught it. But even if you hear something like cattle, the T is not clearly pronounced. You need to understand that that's just the British accent and you will have to get used to it. Cattle. Okay? Cattle. Next, uses compost made from waste from agriculture and gardens also. Then, aims to increase soil carbon by using grasses that are always green. Reducing the amount of fertilizers used in farming and giving farmers what? Payment. Okay? First, get used to listening to it and understanding it, and then you can start mimicking it. First step is always to understand it when it's being said. Okay, so I still managed to get a band 9 because I got one mistake. I got 39 out of 40. That still gives me a band 9. The reason I missed that question is so silly and it can happen to any of you. So make sure you don't get distracted by something stupid like the pronunciation of curders. Okay, 2 wrong, starting, actor and cinema. If all are correct, you only got 2 wrong, that means you get a band 8.5. Okay, 3 wrong, band 8. I'll just give you the calculation, the scoring. So, if you got 39 to 40, that's band 9. 37 to 38, that's band 8.5. Okay, 35 to 36, that's band 8. 32 to 34, 7.5. Okay, then 30 to 31 is 7. Then let's come here. Now the range increases, okay? So 26 to 29 can get you a 6.5 and 23 to 25 can get you a 6. 18 to 22, 5.5. I will not go below 5 because I'm sure all of you got above a 5. And 16 to 17 is a 5. Okay? So tell me your bands. Oh, sorry, exit. Yeah, 3 wrong is still a band 8.5. Never mind. 37 to 38. No. Very good. 8.5 is great. Tell me your band. Okay, so exit Tanmay at 8.5, exit at 8.5, Kapil at 8, Shreya at 8.5, Sayon and Prashant, you're at 6.5. You can definitely improve. You can do a lot better easily. Okay. AI brands 7.5. So those of you who are on this side, next week we will have 2 listening tests. Okay. So those of you who are on this side, next week I want you to come to this side. Okay. So at least a 7 you need to get. Next week, by the end of next week, those of you who are over here, you need to come over here. Those of you who are over here, you need to climb up 1 band. Okay? That's okay, Prashant. That's still very good. But next week, I want you to come from this side to this side. Can you do that? Can you do that? Okay, great. And rest of you, you have to climb up 1 band. For me, I need to get 40 out of 40. This silly mistake will not work. Okay? That's very good. If this was taught to you in extra curriculum, that means your teacher was a very good teacher. Very great, very great, very great. Very good, Prashant. That's the spirit. Alright, that brings us to the end of today's session. If you had fun, if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and share the session with your friends so they can benefit from it too. Don't be like, who's that guy? Chatur from 3 Idiots. Don't be that guy. Okay? You will do your best to get 40 out of it. That's the spirit. Very good, Prashant. Loving it, loving it. Follow us also on Telegram so you don't miss out on updates. And tomorrow we are going to do full speaking, full listening, full speaking, full listening. 4 live sessions back to back. Okay? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Full listening or it's full speaking first. Full speaking, full listening, full speaking, full listening. Okay? So those of you who are on 6.5, I want at least 7.5. I want a 1 band jump, not a half band jump. Okay? Alright, take care everybody. Thank you so much. Reading will happen on Saturday. Okay? Tomorrow there's a writing class. Next Saturday, reading class. Okay? So we'll first make sure that our speaking and listening is sorted. Then 2 weeks we will focus on reading and writing. Alright? Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.